Hello and welcome to Science Fun with Miss Mary. Today we are going to make and learn about our ocean layers. If you stopped by the library and picked up a Science Fun kit, inside it you will find a plastic mason jar. We do have to remove the plastic from it. A couple of jars that we'll go over in a second. A pipelet, a straw, some white stickers, that's what we're going to use to label our ocean layers, a blank piece of black paper, you will have a little ocean creature, and a printout of all the ocean layers and what animals live in those. When we move to our cups, be careful because there are liquids in them. You will see there's a number 1 written on the blue. This is dish soap. 2 just has a little tablet in there. That is a blue food coloring. And also on the top it says add water. So we're going to add water to this one in a moment. Number 3 is vegetable oil. And 4 is a clear liquid. It's rubbing alcohol. If you did pick up a kit from the library, 2 things you will still need from home are a pen or a marker or a permanent marker, and there is an empty cup with a food coloring tablet in your kit, but you will need to be able to fill this with warm water. Okay, the very first thing we're going to do is you're going to find your mason jar and we're going to remove the plastic. And you could just throw that away, and then this part will open. The next thing we're going to do is grab our cup that says number 2 and add water. I want to give this tablet a little time to fully dissolve into the water, so I'm going to do that first. So that way, as I'm putting the first cup in to my mason jar, this has time to fully dissolve. It does work a little better if the water is not cold, but not hot. So we want a good in-between, a nice warm water to go into here. So you could take that top off, and if you look, there's a little line around the edge, and that's how far up I'm gonna fill that. Now that I have my warm water, I'm gonna take that tablet and just drop it in. I did put a straw in there so you guys can use to stir. So if you want to stir it, you can use a straw for that. So while that is dissolving, I'm going to just set it off to the side. So we are making the ocean layers in a jar. So to be able to do this, we have to start from the bottom and work our way to the top. So the first layer we're going to talk about is the bottom of the ocean, and that is called the trench. So if you pull out your sheet, you can see layers of the ocean. We see all these layers, and we're going straight down to the bottom first, the trenches zone. The trenches are narrow underway valleys of the ocean floor which have high pressure and near freezing temperatures. There is no natural light in this zone, but different creatures can be found, such as starfish and sea cucumbers, tube worms, and this very interesting fish. And you could see those clearer on your paper that is in your kit. So the first thing you're gonna need, since we're starting with our trenches, is your black rectangle piece of paper, and there's 5 stickers, and those are to label our layers. And you will need a pen or a permanent marker or a marker to write down the layers on each of these stickers. So the first one I'm gonna do is write trench. T-R-E-N-C-H. And if you need help with that, again, it's on our printed piece of paper right over here, trenches. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to take that off. I'm going to put it on my rectangle so you could see it when I set my mason jar on there. So that's our trench zone. The next one up is layers of the ocean, trench, abyss. And this is our abyss layer. Abyss. The sunlight cannot reach this layer at all, so it's pitch black and near freezing. Sounds a lot like the trenches. Very few creatures live here, but those that do are mainly transparent, which means you could see through them. Blind invertebrates, such as the lanternfish, amethod, and a squid. So it looks like we've got some sea stars also live in this zone. Shrimp and some squids live there too. So we're gonna move this off to the side. We do need our mason jar, and you're gonna find the cup that says 1 on it. 1 means it's the first one that we're dumping into our mason jar. This blue liquid is dish soap. So you're gonna open up that lid, and you're gonna carefully pour the whole thing straight into the mason jar. This one is the easiest one to put in here. The rest of them we have to be very careful, and I'll show you why in a moment. So I'm trying to get as much soap as possible out of there, and then I'm just gonna put the lid back on so I don't make a mess, and set it off to the side. You could throw that away once we're all done. So we have our trench, which is our paper. Now we have our abyss. And then we gotta move up to the next layer. Trench, abyss, midnight zone. The midnight zone is pitch black because sunlight cannot reach this layer. Some light can be seen from creatures that make their own light, such as anglerfish, viperfish, and jellyfish. Some creatures, such as the sperm whale, dive into these depths to hunt for food. Let's see, so there's our anglerfish. Those are the ones that have the little light in front of them to lure in their food. And there's the viperfish, so you got a picture of that. Squid live here too, and the blobfish, if you've ever seen pictures of those. They look pretty silly. So our midnight zone is where we're gonna bring over that little cup of water that we put the water in. And then you can use your straw to stir it up and make sure that tablet is fully dissolved. Once that looks good, you're gonna find your little pipette. So you will squeeze one side and put it into the water and then let go, and it will pull the water into it. You can put it into the put it in the water, then push, and then let it fill up. But if you do that, you'll get bubbles. So if it's really high, all the way filled up to the top, it might be easier to squeeze that back, then put it in, and then let go, and then it will fill up with water. For this next one, we need to be extra careful how we're putting the water in because we already have a layer. So if I dumped this water in, you know when you wash your hands and you put water and soap together, it gets really bubbly and soapy, and the water will mix with the soap. And we don't want that for this. Like our example, we want the layers to stay separated. So to be able to do that, we have to be extra careful. And that's why we have this pipette. So we are gonna take this and fill it up. Now, what I've noticed helps a little bit is actually putting the end of this against the wall of the mason jar and pouring it so it has time to flow down the sides. If you fill this up with water and just squeeze it as hard as you can and spray it in there, it's gonna mix anyway. So you gotta do nice soft droplets and then just keep going until your whole cup is in here. And we're gonna keep doing that just nice and carefully the whole way through all of that water. Okay, if you needed to pause the video to be able to finish up that cup, no need to rush. Remember, the quicker you put it in, and if it falls really hard to the bottom, it will mix with the soap below. So you have to take your time. Once you get to the end of your midnight zone with the water, you can set that off to the side. All right, next layer up is, we just came from midnight, Twilight. The Twilight zone. Only faint sun rays reach this deep layer. No plants grow within this layer. It is home to sea animals which often have large eyes, including the sea cucumber, the swordfish, the wolf eel, the octopus. Humans can dive into this layer wearing protective suits. So this is one where we find crabs, octopus, swordfish, wolf eel, and cat shark. For this layer, we're gonna get our cup number 3. We are using this as vegetable oil, and it is a yellow color. We know that water doesn't look very yellow, but this is to show that some light comes through and vegetable oil will sit on top of the water. So let's give it a try. So we're gonna open that up. This is gonna be another one that we need our pipette, and we're gonna slowly drip it into our mason jar. So I'm gonna fill that up. The technique I like to use is putting my pipette pretty close to the water line and slowly letting it fall off the side of the mason jar so it slowly goes down. You can also put it anywhere, but again, just make sure you're not going from too high up and just squeezing it as hard as you can. You gotta be very careful, because at this point we're putting oil on top of the water. The oil will stay on top, but if it does go in there a little too quickly or heavy, it will mix with the water below. And we're trying to keep it separated the best we can. So I'm just going around the edges, slowly squeezing it until all of my vegetable oil is in the mason jar. Since it's a little hard to see the layers from the top view, I'm just going to show you a little video of it from the table view. And you can see I'm slowly putting that vegetable oil in, using the sides. Or now that there's a little bit of a layer, it's a little easier to slowly drip it right on top. Just like that. It's keeping our water layer, which is our abyss, and our oil layer, which is our midnight, separated, with being very careful and slowly adding that in. Once you've finished with the vegetable oil, our level 3, which was our Twilight, we're moving on up to the next layer. Sunlight zone. The sunlight zone, there's plenty of sunlight, and the heat in this zone, although both decrease as you go deeper, there are many different living things within this layer, including seaweed, dolphins, fish, coral reefs. Humans enjoy this warm layer for activities such as swimming and fishing. And that's the water we probably know best. We've got a blue whale, dolphin, sea turtle, jellyfish, pretty much any creature that you've seen if you went to the beach before. They all live in the sunlight zone. And for our final zone, we've got our cup number 4. I'm going to open that up. This is rubbing alcohol. So it's not water or anything, it's rubbing alcohol. And I'm going to use my pipette. And again, nice and slowly. Remember, I used the sides to slowly create that layer. I'm going to fill our last layer up all the way until this cup is gone. All right, as you finish up that last layer, which is our sunlight zone made from the rubbing alcohol, next up you're going to grab your stickers and whatever pen, permanent marker you have, and we're going to write the other layers just like we wrote trench. So we're going to write sunlight, twilight, midnight, and abyss. Okay, once we have those written, I'm going to turn this one toward you if you could see. But I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to grab my sunlight, and I'm going to put that as the first sticker, and I'm actually going to move down so I can see the layer. So I'm going to look at it straight on and not from the top. I'm going to find my sunlight layer, put my sticker there. Then I'm going to grab my twilight and go down one layer and put my twilight there. And then I'm going to grab my midnight and put it right underneath that. And then the very last one on the mason jar was our abyss, and that's going right underneath the midnight. And then I'm going to take my top for my jar and put that on. And then there's our jar with all of the labels on. And then if you have your trench layer, you could set it on there. Now that we have all of our ocean layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, you can find your little sea creature that came with your kit. I have a crab. Can you find your creature on this list of layers of the ocean printout that came in your kit to find out where our creatures live? I found mine, crab, and if you scooch over, so my creature, the crab, lives in the twilight zone. You do not need to put this in your jar. You can if you want to, but it will probably sink to the bottom and it'll be kind of hard to get out unless you're dumping out all the liquid. But that's just for you to keep and hold on to, just like the ocean layer printout. And as far as your layers in the mason jar go, if any of it got a little mixed up, if you let it sit for a couple of hours and then check back and see if they've settled down a little bit. I'm going to leave you with one last little tidbit as we finish out our science fun for today about the layers of the ocean. Oceans cover 2/3 of our Earth. There are 5 main oceans which flow into each other: the Arctic, the Atlantic, Indian, Pacific, and the Southern or Arctic Ocean. What are the layers of the ocean? That's what we learned about today. The ocean is made up of 5 layers or depths. Each layer has different characteristics, such as the temperature and the amount of light. They are unique creatures living within each of them. I hope you had lots of fun with science today as we discovered the layers of the ocean. If you are really proud of your mason jar and want to show me, you're welcome to take any pictures you would like and send them to us via Facebook or our email. And until next time, goodbye.